Hi, I'm Chad with Move Forward Guitar. This lesson is from our course Music Theory 1. All the lessons for this course are free on our YouTube channel, so you can follow right along with the playlist, or you can look in the description below for links to the rest of the lessons. To accelerate your learning though, I highly recommend that you download the corresponding workbook and eGuide. To learn more about the workbook and eGuide, click the link on the screen or look in the description below. Welcome to Music Theory 1, Lesson 4. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about melody. So now we've gotten some very specific guitar stuff out of the way when we're talking about your fretboard. We're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about theory that applies to all of music. And again, we're always going to relate stuff back to the guitar because these are guitar lessons, but the last two lessons were very specific to the guitar. Now we're going to talk about very important theory that goes through all of music theory. And what we're going to talk about are the elements of music, the main elements of music. And those main elements are melody, harmony, and rhythm. And in this lesson, we're going to focus on melody. In the next lesson, we'll focus on harmony, and then the one after that, rhythm. But these are very crucial to understand and at least have a basic understanding of them. Obviously, these are things that can get very complicated, and we'll dive more and more into them in later lessons. But to get the very basic understanding of them, I think is really important early on. So melody is single notes played or sung in an arrangement of different pitches. And that might be confusing, probably doesn't help that much, but I think it'll be really clear as we go through this lesson. And as I've mentioned before, a pitch just refers to how high or low a note is. So you have lower notes are lower in pitch, higher notes are higher in pitch. Just like if we played an E in the open string and then played that E 12 frets higher, the E in the open string is a lower pitch than the E in the 12th fret. The E in the 12th fret is a higher pitch. So if we were to look at the fretboard again, and I'm going to take the musical alphabet, and I'm just going to do it on this string from A to A, that's the A chromatic scale, or from A to G sharp is the musical alphabet. This A right here is lower in pitch than all the notes moving horizontally towards the body of your guitar. So this A sharp or B flat is higher in pitch than the A, this B is higher in pitch than the A or the A sharp or B flat, and so on. And I've represented this with music notation up above. Don't worry, you don't have to read music theory for these courses. I think it's really confusing when people try to teach how to read music and music theory at the same time. I think they should be separated out. And we have courses all about how to read music if you want to check those out. It's really not important to be able to read music to understand music theory, but the little bit of music notation I use, it'll be just to give you a visual representation and really easy to visualize. You're not going to have to understand what a lot of the stuff you're looking at is. So if I was to play this note, that would be represented with this note in music notation. And you can see if I was to play this note, that's represented right here. You can see that this note is lower than this note on what's called the staff here. These lines are representing the staff in music notation. So you have a lower pitch note, a higher pitch note. And anything above this note actually that I've drawn here is higher in pitch. It can be harder to see right here because they're on the same space and they're both A notes, but this is representing an A sharp, so this sharp is representing that it's higher than this. But all the other ones you can see are moving up towards the ceiling, which means that they're higher in pitch. So this A and then this A, you can see there's a drastic difference in how high they are on this staff, what's called the music staff. So that's all pitch is. This pitch is lower than this pitch. This pitch is higher than this pitch or any of the pitches below it. And when you're looking at music notation, pitch just moves up and down. If you're looking at one string on guitar, lowest pitch is down towards the headstock, highest pitch is up towards the body of your guitar. It can be harder to visualize when you're looking at one string to the next because you have unisons, but we don't need to worry about that for now. So if I just play this A chromatic scale, you'll be able to hear it move from the lowest pitch to the highest pitch. Now all a melody is taking these pitches and arranging them into pleasing sounds and playing those pitches one at a time. Just like I did with the chromatic scale. I played all of those notes one at a time. I didn't play any of them at the same time, which we'll talk about in the next lesson. So if I was to take a chromatic scale or any of the notes in the musical alphabet, I could just rearrange them into different pitches. For example, I could play an A and then jump up to a D and then play a D flat and then jump up to an F, and I would have some sort of melody. That doesn't mean it'd be a good melody or that anyone would like it, but it technically is a melody because a melody is just single notes arranged in different pitches. And usually melodies come out of scales or arpeggios, and we'll talk about scales and arpeggios in upcoming lessons, but for now that's really not important. And I'm sure you know what melody is, I'm sure you know what good melody is, because any music that you listen to is going to have melody, and the more popular, the easier the melody is to pick out. So popular songs and melodies are very clear, and it's usually what the singer is singing. In instrumental music, it's usually the thing that you can pick out, and is usually repeated over and over at some point, and it's usually the higher notes, just like when a singer is usually singing higher, so the melody is easier to pick out. If a melody is something that can stick in your mind and you can remember it quickly, or it's something that after you've heard it, it kind of just runs over and over, it doesn't mean it's a great song to you. It could be some annoying jingle or something, but that's what a melody is. Really complicated melodies, or melodies that jump all over the place and don't really revolve around something specific and aren't easy to pick out, usually aren't considered very good melodies, even if they're complicated. Melodies are usually simpler so that they're easy to pick out, easy to remember. So now I'm just going to go and play portions of songs, and I'm going to play the melody, and right away you should be able to hear what these songs are, and that's how important melody is. The melody is going to let you recognize what a song is right away, even if I don't have any other accompanying music going with it. And as I play, I'm going to highlight the notes. I'm just going to play these on one string so it's really easy to hear when I'm going from a lower pitch to a higher pitch, and I'm going to show it in music notation just so you can see when the notes are moving up or when they're moving down, and they'll be highlighted as I go. But again, don't worry, you don't have to read music notation to understand this. I'm just giving you visual representation of the pitches moving up and down. So here's the melody I want to show you, and I'm sure you'll recognize it right away, and I'm just playing a portion of it. So I'm sure you recognize that right away as Happy Birthday. I just played a little portion of it, and hopefully you could see the melody, the pitches were just moving up and down. You could see it represented on the string, and you could see it represented on the music notation with the notes moving up or down. Now I'm just going to play some other examples of melodies. I'm just going to do them on one string again, but I'm actually going to show you on my guitar, and I'm sure you'll recognize them right away again. And again, these are just melodies. The reason you recognize them so quickly is because they're simple melodies that you've heard before. But even if you haven't heard them all your life, they're melodies it wouldn't take very many listens to be able to hum it back or to sing it back. So here's some more examples. Now obviously these are really simple melodies. Melodies can be more complex than that. If a melody is too simple, it can get annoying like a jingle. But like I said, if a melody is too complex, it's not a pleasing melody. It's really hard to pick up and really hard to remember. And the best melodies can usually be remembered very easily by a listener. And then even just by one listen, if you hear it later, you might not be able to remember what that melody is from or exactly all the notes in your head, but as you hear it, you recognize it and can recognize that you've heard that before. That's usually a strong melody, because there are strong melodies and there are weak melodies, but for now we're not worried about that. For now we're just worried about the basic meaning of a melody, that it's just single notes played or sung in an arrangement of different pitches. So that's a brief overview of melody. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about harmony. Look in the Music Theory 1 workbook for step-by-step guidance on how to retain this information and what to do next. And remember, all the charts and diagrams are in the Music Theory 1 eGuide for you to reference anytime.